Welcome everybody to this GTO Zoom, and we're looking at the future of group travel and what the future brings for us all. What we're going to do this afternoon, we have 9 different speakers, and we're going to divide them into 3 groups, and after each little session we'll have time for general discussion and questions. So we're going to start off with Lynn Wilson, who is a GTO. She set up Solent Events nearly 30 years ago, and it's gone from strength to strength. So early in lockdown, Lynn did a questionnaire surveying her members and clients to find out what they would like in the future, and she's going to talk about that mainly, I think. Over to you, Lynn. Report back.
Hello everyone, and thank you for inviting me here today, Val. It's a privilege to be on this panel, and hopefully we can suss out what's going to happen in the next few years and of course in the immediate future. Now, I personally organise and escort away days, theatre trips, short breaks, holidays abroad and worldwide, and so of course I need to know if I was going to still be here, which I definitely am, but whether my clients would still be there. Now, I've got about 1,200 people on my database, and I was absolutely amazed when I started this survey on the 2nd of July. I gave them a month, so it ends on Friday, and I've had over 10% of surveys back, but this accounts for a lot more people than that, of course, because there's a lot of couples. And I'm going to go through this survey with you, and I'm going to attempt to share it on your screen, she says. Right, let's have a look. Oh, there's nothing there. Here it is. There it is. Can you all see that?
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, great.
You can see it.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. So we did have a bit of a problem earlier on.
No,
now, if you wanted to take this down, you can do a print screen, a screenshot, can't you? But I thought that I would just go through it very quickly. I've only got 5 minutes, I know, Val.
Yeah.
So you can ask questions afterwards. Now, the survey is from all different ages, but mostly my age groups are 60s, 70s. So I have actually put that on the survey as well, because I wanted to know their age group. Now, this is about 155 people of 1,200 people on my database, and there's 109 surveys here. Now, those were all current clients. They've either been on a theatre trip or a holiday or whatever, but nice to know, I've got 8 new ones that want to come now, so that was great to see that. Now, as you can see, the age groups, I haven't got many, the 40s or 50s, and they're mainly in their 60s, 70s, and I've got a few in their 80s. As expected, as I went through the survey, the 80s were the ones that have said really that they might not be travelling again. But the day trips, you can see about a third want to go soon, and 2/3 want to go not until next year, when everything may be sorted out a bit. Holidays, it was a bit less, and this is UK, European and worldwide, and I've come to those a bit later on. So the holidays, 16 surveys were for soon, but mostly for 2021. And I think that's probably what most of you are finding. Now, 7 of those, and they were 4 in their 80s, 1 in their 50s, said they never want to go away again. So that's, I think, a bit pessimistic, but that's their choice at the moment. And incidentally, on this survey, I didn't have a box that said, I'm not sure. I like black and white as far as I can see. And so I didn't give them the option to not put down anything, because otherwise I think you just get a not sure survey completely. So I asked them what their reasons for caution were. 28 said they hadn't got any worries at all. And there were 82 with concerns. And 50% of those, which 51 people, was 51 said that they were worried about other people In other words, the same as me, I suppose. If they haven't got masks on, they're getting too close to me. I'm worried about the people that are not adhering to the rules. But 38 were medical problems, so they would have to make sure they were safe anyway. And where they wanted to go on holiday. 35 said they only wanted a holiday in the UK. 21 in the survey included worldwide, which I thought was quite promising. And 54 included Europe. So that's half said they would still go to Europe. And that's either soon or next year, from next year. Now, the transport was always going to be a question. And 63 of them said that they were absolutely okay with flying. 21 said they only wanted to go by coach, wherever. But of course, everything that I do includes a coach, whether it's to the airport, whether it's a tour by coach or whatever. So everything does include a coach. So we have to remember that everyone that's filling this in accepts that they are going to go on a coach. 42 included a small ship. So I like to do cruises, and if we can do them locally, Southampton or Portsmouth, it'd be brilliant. I wanted to know how many people would go on a small ship as opposed to a big one, because we don't do big ships. So 42, that is pretty good, and that was included in that number. 56 would like to go on a train, would prefer to go train. So that's good for me, thinking about the type of holiday I'm going to do. But only one said that they wanted to only go on a train, which I'm not really counting, actually. So 66 of them said that they would actually like to go on a small ship cruise. So that was great. Catering, well, that was because hotels have got to decide whether they're doing self-service, table service, etc. Now, I asked them what they would prefer. And they could tick whatever boxes. 34 said they don't mind self-service. 6 said they didn't want meals in the hotel. They wanted to do their own thing, which, okay. 54 wanted table service only. So that's half of them would prefer table service only. And 3 said they didn't care anything. Group size, of course, as we go through this, we know that we're going to have smaller groups because of the distancing, etc. And of course, coaches, I know my coach company's only taking 37 maximum on my 53-seater coach. So you've got to think about that. 46 said any size. They don't mind what size group, which is great for us. 28 said a maximum of 20 people in a group. 4 a maximum of 10, and 15 a maximum of 15. I like small groups. 15, 20 is great for me, so I should be looking at that. Any size, theatres, away days, of course, more than that, smaller number. And of course, with that, the price would go up, and I think prices are going to go up anyway. So I wanted to know if they were happy or they're going to moan if the prices go up. I'm not the cheapest company. I don't expect to be, because I accompany everything and it's a personal service. But most of them said absolutely okay with the price going up. 7 not okay. They might have pressed the wrong button, but I don't know. So that is my survey. I hope that's going to be useful to you. Certainly useful to me, and it does make me think that I'm still going to be here in a few years' time. I have just organised a trip to the Isle of Wight just a couple of weeks ago, and I'm full already.
That's great. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's really great. I think that sets the scene really well for this afternoon, and shows what the GTOs are thinking, and your clients as well, and what group travel might look like in the future. It seems a really, really good grounding for us going forward. So that's great, Lynn. I think we're going to have 2 more presentations now, and then we'll have a little time for discussion, and perhaps we can have some feedback for you, Lynn, and I'm sure there'll be some questions for you with your excellent little survey. So thank you very, very much for starting us off so well. Peter's going to go next, and then after Peter, we've got Joss Croft. Peter, as I'm sure you all know, is the founder of GTO magazine. It's been going for over 30 years now. He set it up to recognise that there was a gap in the market for GTOs and how they worked. And we've over the last 30 years, you've always been innovative, I think, Peter, would be fair to say, and you've got some new ideas about what to do and how we're going to get people talking to each other in the future. Over to you, Peter, please.
Thanks, Val. Thanks, Lynn, as well. That was really interesting. I must do a quick credit to Val, who was editor of the magazine for a number of years and is a great person to work with, and also very creative and innovative about what we do in the market. I think the first point to make is everybody's world was turned upside down in March, including ours, and we had to think through what was the right thing to do for the market and our business in the lockdown. We decided it wasn't really the right thing to continue publishing the magazine as it was, partly because of the financial situation and the commercial consequences of that, but also because the information was changing so fast and it would be very difficult to tell a positive story in print that stood up against what happened 2 or 3 weeks later after we'd come out. So we thought it really wasn't sensible to try and continue publishing the magazine. But we did want to keep in touch with our audience, obviously, and so the newsletter we were doing, the Group Travel Grapevine, was increased to fortnightly rather than monthly, and we've been sending out a bulletin every month, or sorry, every 2 weeks, and in that there's news about what's happening in terms of things that are opening now, fortunately. There's also longer interviews with some of the players in the market, like tour operators, attractions, and coach operators. So we had the newsletter going out. Then we thought, as things started to ease and our Prime Minister began to suggest we might be able to allowed to go out and about again, we thought we'd do something that was suitable for the situation, not the magazine as such, but a special publication, which I haven't got a hard copy yet, they're actually in the post, which is called Group Trips Staying Local. And the idea was that we would focus on those places that were open for business and had put arrangements in place to suit the situation in terms of personal health care and separation, etc. And there are a lot of people doing very interesting things, and we're pleased to have featured a lot of them in that publication, which is literally in the post now, and our normal GTO audience will be receiving that hopefully today, tomorrow. So we've done that in print, but we realised that things are changing fast, and we as well as putting regular updates in the Grapevine newsletter and on the GTO website, we decided to take a big step because we couldn't do physical activities, and we decided to do our first broadcast event, which is a pop-up TV channel, which will be very much like a magazine program, that long TV blockbuster type program. We use the example of Eurovision Song Contest or Children in Need, which will take place on Thursday, September the 3rd, and broadcast 2 segments, one in the afternoon, which is a showcase for group travel, which will include features, interviews, news, and information for our group travel organizer audience about what's available and some of the new things that have come into the market to meet the circumstances now. And then in the evening, early evening, there'll be a live broadcast from the studio, which we've booked with a production company to show the Group Travel Awards for this year, which would have taken place that day live, but are now being done from a studio and will be broadcast. The host for that will be Patrick Kilty, the TV personality, and he'll be anchoring things from the studio rather than from the stage or where we normally do it. The whole of the day's TV programme will be under the title Celebrate Group Travel Day. What we want to do is to put some positives on the table from the people in the industry who are coming up with ways of getting people back in terms of holidays and leisure trips. And I hope that that will help the industry rebuild at this very difficult time. We're busy filming and producing content now, and if anybody would like to be involved, featured in any way, do get in touch, because we're very excited about giving people a new platform to reach out to our audience in these new circumstances.
Okay, great. Thanks, Peter. That's really good. And I'm sure there'll be a few questions about that, and you'll have your chance to quiz him in a few minutes' time. But now I'd like to hand over to Joss Croft, who's from UK Inbound, the CEO, and he is going to give us a little overview of how he sees the tourism industry at the minute, and also an update on recent requests to government about support for tourism businesses. So over to you, Joss. Thanks very much.
Great, thank you very much, Val, and thanks, Peter, as well. I'm just going to give you a quick update here. Hopefully you can all see that. It's just going to be a very brief update on inbound tourism into the UK. So if you don't know UK Inbound, we're a trade association involved in inbound tourism into the UK. It's worth about £28 billion a year to the UK economy. It's the third largest export. And I think it's fair to say that really since February, my members involved in inbound tourism have seen very little inbound tourism at all. So if we look first of all at, the kind of forecast from Visit Britain, so they reran a forecast on the 3rd of June that was just based on quarantine for a very short period of time. But that was predicting a decline of about 60% in visits and 63% in spend. And even on domestic tourism, given how late we were in the day to actually be able to do something in terms of the 4th of July, their predictions are on 48% decrease on 2019. So whether it be inbound tourism or domestic tourism, it is not going to be a very good year. And of course, I would suggest that those figures are pretty conservative, particularly on the inbound. This was a long-term forecast from Oxford Economics talking about when inbound is likely to recover, and you'll see that it's really not until 2024 that we're likely to see anything like we did in 2019 or the record years that we saw in the lead up to that as well. We've been running a series of webinars similar to GTO, and we've had a couple of really interesting speakers. We had one from Google, and they were talking about an increase in domestic, very much looking at cottages, very much looking at rural, coastal are going to be the areas that are going to see the uptick, and I think that's proven to be the case. Interestingly, what they've said is they've said that the real incentives to book travel at the moment are all around financial incentives, that money back guarantee, so people know they're going to be able to get their money back if they can't travel. It's about the no cancellation fees. And they see the health and safety elements as very much kind of a background to it all, and that's the barrier. It's very much assumed that you will be safe to visit, but any messaging, any proactive marketing messages need to be monetary, and then backed up by the messaging that's around the health and safety as well. On international, US visitors, and nearly half of them aren't planning on doing any trips internationally. I did actually speak to a load of US operators last week, and they are very, very keen still to come. And it's the quarantine that is the issue for them, because they're just not able to guarantee that their visitors will be able to come here without being quarantined for 2 weeks. And of course, 92% of all inbound travel into the UK is less than 2 weeks as well. And then the tourism economics that we've seen as well in terms of some of the global figures. So some really dire and desperate times out there, particularly for anyone involved in inbound tourism. Some of the prospects looking forward, albeit of course 66% of the visitors that come to the UK come from Europe, and a proportion of those are now exempt from the quarantine. Big markets like the USA, like China, like the Gulf states, like Sweden, Canada, India, are still subject to that quarantine. And given that these are also markets that have the highest preponderance of using tour operators will not book airfares for customers whilst quarantine is still in existence. So we're missing out on what I would suggest might be about 25–30% of the value of inbound tourism under quarantine as well. And of course, when we levied our quarantine, it was also a missed opportunity, because we put up our quarantine sort of 2–3 weeks after everyone was removing theirs. And so people have already chosen where they're going to. Inbound tourism is very seasonal, so we've already only got another 3 months of the year in which to work. And of course, the attractiveness as the UK as a destination has been damaged in the minds of overseas consumers by the way in which we're perceived to have handled COVID-19 as well. And while Spain is, of course, it is the 5th biggest market in terms of numbers, 7th biggest in terms of spend, it's the impact that it also has on other markets as well, whereby they see what's happened with Spain being quarantined. Might that happen to Germany? Might that happen to France, to Italy? So the impact is going to be really significant. In terms of bookings, good news is a lot of the ones which were 2020 have been pushed through to 2021. And of course, we will also get that demand in 2021 as well. I mean, I just heard on the news today that the pound-euro rate is at 110. So it's really fantastically cheap for people to be able to come. And I'm sure there will be deals being done as well. Operators, my tour operators really need the 2021 rate so that they can convert some of that interest for next year into the business and into bookings, which helps with their cash flow as well. So just a couple of quick tips from me in terms of what you can do is adapt yourselves, adapt your marketing, who you're targeting, maybe adapt your product as well. Do follow guidance and make sure it's official guidance as well, rather than rumor and innuendo on social media. So make sure you're fully up to date. If you've got product or you are an operator, do sign up to the Visit England We're Good to Go industry standard. There's now over 32,000 businesses that have signed up for that. That shows customers that they are good to go. So whether you're an operator or whether you're taking people to attractions, hotels, make sure that they've got the industry standard, and you can show that to your customers to reassure them that they'll be safe as well. Get your rates out for 2021. As I say, that's really important to ensure the survival of the operators. And then also support any campaigns to support the industry. And we have a campaign at the moment really to support the tour operators who are so desperately affected by this. If they go, a lot of regional economies will suffer. So you can find further information on ukinbound.org. So I know I've only got 5 minutes and I've been a bit of a harbinger of doom. So sorry, Peter, I'm not one of those good news people today. I normally am, as many of you will know, but not today, I'm afraid. So it's a very desperate situation. Prospects for 2021 look okay. Prospects between now and then look dire, and we must get more government support to allow these businesses to continue. So I'll hand back to you now, Val, and I hope that's been a useful update for some of the GTO members.
Yeah, that's really great. Thanks so much, Joss. That's really, really useful, I think. And again, another good grounding as to what's going on in the world today in Britain and how tourism is working. So now we've got a few minutes for discussion. If anybody would like to ask any questions of any of the panelists who've spoken so far, I think, Stuart Render, you've got a question for Lynn, I think.
Yes, good afternoon. Lynn, you mentioned you have 37 people on a full-size 53-seat coach.
Yes.
When I've been talking with GTOs, and a fortnight ago I travelled on behalf of AGTO, the Association of Group Travel Organisers, to Torquay on the first coach tour going out, and you may have seen some of the social media surrounding that. And that we had a full-size 53-seat coach. We only had 11 on that one because it was a trial run and it all went very successfully. But I'm hearing, as I'm talking to GTOs and to coach operators, that the typical number that is being mentioned is probably 25, or about half the size of the coach. Now we know, of course, that if we coach operators probably don't want to charge any less for their hire, and with the costs of additional cleaning materials and that sort of thing, then they're going to make sure that the higher rates are where they are. And we also hear, of course, that some GTOs are happy to pay a little extra, as you've said, because they haven't been travelling, they have some money in the bank perhaps, and they're very happy to get out, so they're happy to pay the extra per person rate. But that figure of 37 fascinates me, because that in principle doesn't allow, in my mind, proper social distancing. So I wonder if you could pick up on that point, please.
Oh, that's a shame I didn't know about this question before, actually, Stuart, because I could have got, I've been given the diagram of the coach now, and all the protocols that are in place for me, because I'm going in September as going to be my first trip. So I will double check that, but it's a shame that I didn't know, because I could have shown you the diagram. So that basically, from what I can remember, the seats are 2s on one side, but not the 2 seats behind the driver, and not the 2 seats on the near side. So there's 2 seats all the way through to the back on one side, and 1 seat all the way to the back on the other, right to the back seat, and then the 2 in the middle at the back are free. Now, this is so that we can have people that are together, and people that are on their own or don't want to be with anyone on the singles. That's what I make of it. They're going to be testing people as they get on at the beginning of the tour. We're going to have masks on all the time, and we're having to be sanitized on and off, which I do anyway. I do the sanitizing anyway, the last few trips that I've done as they get on and off the coach. So as far as the coach numbers, that's what I've been given. And I'm not actually going to have 37, I'm only going to have 30. If that's
great.
That makes you feel better. And I'm, as I said before, I like small groups anyway. So, and for my airports, I have 53-seater coach, and I might just have 15 or 20 people, but I make sure it's comfortable.
Okay, thanks, Lynn. I hope that helps, Stuart, and maybe you two can talk later on as well and resolve this little issue. I'm sure there's many more nitty-gritty questions like that that needs resolving. Has anybody else got any other questions for Joss or Peter or Lynn so far? Anybody? No?
Lynn said, sorry. Can I pick up on something Lynn said, Val?
Yeah, certainly, yeah.
It's about small groups. My feeling is that the future is more likely to be small groups than big groups for a number of reasons. The market, therefore, has got to make some adjustments. And in particular, at the same point that Stuart made, the coach operator side of the business will have to rethink its business model, because if you're going to be looking after 15 or 20 people rather than 53, the economics change, and that will mean that the market needs to have different price structures for different kinds of products. I like the idea of small groups for a number of reasons, and in publishing about groups over the years, we've realized that some of the things that a smaller group can do are far more interesting and experiential than a big group. So I reckon there's a message there for the future as we come through the pandemic, but also for general consumer reasons. There's a market for small groups done well.
Okay, great. Thanks, Peter. Right, we'll move on to the next segment of our little discussion today, where we have some input from different types of suppliers. And representing historic houses and heritage properties, we've got Lucy Arthurs, who's the joint owner of Leighton Hall, which is a lovely historic house in Lancashire, and she owns it alongside her mother, Susie Reynolds. And if you're not familiar with it, it is the ancestral home of the Gillow furniture family. So Lucy, are you there and ready to take over?
I am here. I'm just going to share my screen. So thank you for having me, everybody. Let me just bring this up. See if you can all see that. Okay, so I'm just going to do a very small presentation, but I did this, it's actually quite a big presentation I did for some other people along the same subject matter. And we've been welcoming coaches to Leighton for, oh gosh, well over 50 years now. My grandparents opened the hall, my parents continued, and now I've come on board as well. So I'm going to skim through a lot of these, but touching on issues, health and safety issues that we as destinations have been thinking about, things we put in place, and trying to give confidence to encourage groups to come back, to come and see us and come and visit, because like everyone else, we need the trade. You know, I've got a large roof that I need to keep on and keep the rain out, so it's very important what we have people back. So let me see if I can move this along. Oh, sorry, why isn't that moving? Okay, so I'll skim through this one. We're in Lancashire, as you said. We're almost the Lake District. We are a small half-day destination. We can provide fantastic tours and refreshments. We are about a 70-30 split, so we really do welcome coaches. They are a huge part of our visitor market. And we also have what I refer to internally here as a buddy up scheme. We know what we are, we're half day, and if people want to utilize their coach for longer, then we can work with other locations that are nearby to give a full day experience. So that's not a problem. Okay. So what did we do at Leighton? How did we get ourselves ready for, dealing with COVID and encouraging people back? First and foremost, here as a manager and as my colleagues say, the boss, it's bringing your staff along with you, making sure that they are massively engaged. And it's so important. They do the job, they deliver. They are the people that talk to the customers and look after everyone. And so we walked the walk, as we put it, and we took the footsteps of our visitors, and we went around the whole site, the hall for the tour, the gardens, the tea room, absolutely everywhere that our customers may go, your customers may go, and making sure that we are keeping people safe. So we looked at all sorts of things, size of group that we could manage. We looked at things like, do we want people to wear face masks through a tour? Ventilation when people are in the house, whether it was appropriate to do the full tour, whether we needed to shorten the tour, where pinch points were. Everything was looked at and pulled apart and then put back together again. And we have made some significant changes for now that we will review into the future and be in line with government regulations. So that was really important. And then on top of all that, there was all the new cleaning procedures and policies that have to be in place between groups as well. Now, we very much are not a museum. So that is, I need to make that very clear to everyone. We're not a museum. So we very much say to people, please come in, sit down, touch things, ask questions, get involved. But of course, now our message is very, very strange to us. It's do not touch, do not sit down, please stay away from other people. And keep your distance, which is an extremely different and alien message for the guides here at Leighton, and pretty much rubs us up the wrong way, but we have to apply it currently. So, but hopefully we'll get back to our original principles as soon as possible, but not yet, so that's fine. Okay, so this has been mentioned already, the good to go, new kite mark that's out there to make sure that destinations like Leighton are really making sure that they are looking after their customers. And so we have achieved that. I think we were quite early on to achieve this. We've got a very good network of businesses and destinations around here that are all communicating and talking to each other. So this came up very quickly. And so this is what we have got. And we are obviously telling people about it. But this isn't just for our groups as well. We want this for our general visitors as well, so them to know that we are a safe place to come and maybe step out for the first time from isolation and come and have some fresh air and explore. So we do have that already. So we did a training day, and it wasn't just a training day for our staff here at Leighton, but also with a local coach company called Bibbies of Ingleton that people may or may not have heard of. And they're absolutely fantastic. They wanted to go through all the rules and regulations that they faced with welcoming people back onto their coaches and running day trips themselves and longer trips around the UK and then maybe further afield with time. And it was brilliant. It really, really helped both of us. And it meant that we could really enforce our message to the customers, which was their staff on this particular day, and really check if we had any gaps in our new processes and procedures. And we got fantastic feedback, which was brilliant. And we asked them lots of questions as well about what they faced and what we needed to understand for people that are traveling on coaches. And for them, touching on the issues before, they're going to run at about 50% capacity on their coach of a 52-seater. They are going to be wearing face masks. And as you can see in the picture, that is their staff. And they wore face masks in the hall on the tour. and my own staff have visors so they can talk and be heard. So that was really interesting, and we split everybody down again into smaller groups. So it worked very, very well indeed. So that was good. We did, because groups are very easy for us from a track and trace data point of view, because we got all the data in advance from Bibbies, who was coming, all their contact details, and we have that stored both electronically, and we also have it in a paper format in our filing system as well, all dated. And then when the 21 days are up, that will be shredded and disposed of because it has personal data on it in line with GDPR. None of that data will go on our marketing database. That's strictly not allowed. And so that was a really important point, that Bibbies wanted to know how we would handle that data. So we told them what we'd be doing and how we would look after that data. So that was quite interesting. One of the key things, and this may make everyone laugh, is that we have our loos open, and lots of destinations like us have chosen not to have their public loos open because they are very difficult to manage. Hopefully that will get easier with time, but that was a real positive, and they felt their customers, it would be very important for their customers if they're traveling on a coach and then they can't use the loo when they get to site, which would be a real negative thing. So that was great. Well, there's just Leighton, as you can see, that's us, and that's Bibbies sat on the front. It was a beautiful day, so I just popped that picture in. So there it is. So they gave us feedback on the tour. They also gave us feedback on our processes in the tea room. And I've already covered a lot about the tour, but the tea rooms, we have a one-way system. We can seat everybody for about 26 to 28 people at any one time across 2 rooms with social distancing in place. And we also do service to the tables for our coach groups. So, or any group, it doesn't really matter. So that really ticked all their boxes. And we encourage people to leave anything that's dirty on a table. Our staff will collect that, and it just indicates we need to clean down the tables, the chairs, and anything that's been touched. So flower vases, sugar pots, anything at all will be cleaned down with antiviral spray. So that's very important. So am I up? I mean, there's so much to say. I can keep going, but I can pass this around if anybody's interested. Okay?
Yeah, that's really, really great. Thank you, Lucy.
Fantastic. Thank you. Let me get rid of that for you. Let me stop sharing.
It's a shame because it was really fascinating, but we just
not a problem.
Move on a bit. So thanks, Lucy. We've now got Paul from Dashes. He's going to give us a little bit of insight into what's happening with hotels and hospitality. Are you there, Paul?
So we are, I work for Dashes Holidays. I'm one of the company's directors. We own and operate 10 hotels, and we have a fleet of 26 coaches as well. So a reasonable size player. We reopened on July the 4th. That was when our first hotel reopened. And since then, we have had all but 2 hotels reopen, and the final 2 will reopen this week. So we're pretty much back to full working schedule now. We spent much of May and pretty much all of June looking at what we do in terms of social distancing, PPE, how do we operate safely, what kind of numbers are we going to be actually looking at. We would typically run, or we typically run a 5-day rolling program, and we would normally have anywhere between 130 and 150 people in each hotel on any given tour. So obviously with the coaching, the social distancing, that was simply not feasible. When we started back on July the 4th, our first tour went in, and it went in with just 75 people. So about half what we would normally carry. A number of reasons this, obviously our coaches are socially distanced as well. So we only carry a maximum of 26 people within a coach. And it will be less if there are singles, because we will book the seat next to them as well, so that they are socially distant, so that they've not got obviously anybody sitting next to them. And since then we've grown. The demand we've seen has increased as and when our operations we've got up to speed. We're now running between about 90 and 100 to 110 people as a maximum in the hotel. So it's already picked up from the sort of 65, 70 that it was. And again, these are sort of the limited figures based on ensuring the social distancing is in practice and safe. And this applies to coffee shops, bars, restaurant services as well, so making sure that we can do that. Some hotels are operating where they would normally only operate one service, they're operating two due to the size of the restaurant. Others are choosing to limit the numbers to a slightly higher degree, so limiting it sort of 85, 90 and still having one service, but everybody is socially distant. And since the outbreak and before opening, we invested just over £70,000 in PPE equipment, cleaning equipment, signage, tape, all of those kind of things. And then obviously everybody will have had multiple days worth of training as well. So we've probably, in terms of total management time, training time, it's cost us sort of in between 75 and £100,000 just to reopen, to carry a lot less people. You'd almost question why at that point, but our view was that we wanted to get open as quickly as we were able to, and we believed that there would be a demand for holidays, both from groups and our other direct travel, and we've certainly seen that to be the case. If we look at the short, medium and long term, I think in the short term through July and August we've carried only 10% of the group numbers that we would normally expect to carry. When we look at September and October, at the moment we're at 50% of the groups, although passenger numbers themselves are down because, as we've discussed earlier, a lot of the groups are reducing in numbers. So where we previously would have had a group of 53, we only have 21 or 22 people that actually want to travel. And logistically, it's a challenge for us in terms of, if we have a group of 53 that is now 37, well, that entails potentially sending it does entail sending two coaches. So how do we manage that and make it efficient and safe for the guests? And then looking into November and December, which is probably more the medium term, at the moment on our books, we still have 70% of the groups that we had prior to the lockdown and the COVID still confirmed, saying that they want to travel. So we're pretty encouraged by that, but again it will be on reduced numbers, so realistically that will probably drop down to sort of 30 to 35%. Looking to the longer term, so 2021 onwards, we are already 45% up on bookings for next year compared to where we were this time at the same point last year. So we're at nearly 200 bookings already group-wise for next year, compared to about 120 or so this time last year. But again, the numbers are a bit more limited, and we are seeing smaller groups. Because again, you've got group organisers where they've simply got people that are either shielding or very concerned about travelling and are not quite willing to make that leap yet. And I think going forward for 2021 onwards, I think we're very positive that it's going to be back to a very good and successful year for us. I think the challenge with us going forward is in what format do we see social distancing continuing? How does that continue to affect operations? And equally, I think one of the things we've also got to manage is actually customer expectation versus any guidance and those kind of things. It's interestingly, I saw before this there was an article about coach travel, and one of the ministers who'd been met with CBT said that there is no specific instructional guidance that says you can't carry a full coach. It's up to the individual operator to risk assess it. I think if we'd have come out at the beginning and said, well, we're just running a full coach, get on with it, I don't think we'd have any customers. So I think, there is a balance to be made between actually what is within the guidance and what is acceptable and right for our customer base. And I think it's a difficult line to always get it right, and we possibly won't always get it right. But I think we have to do everything with best intentions. And in terms of supporting groups going forward, I think it's being upfront and honest, sharing the policies that you've got in place. We've got policy documents for hotel operations, for coach operations, all the risk assessments. We've got, informational videos on the website about what to expect, the changes, all those kind of things. We're sending out newsletters to databases, to our direct bases, as well as our group organisers, showing these are the changes, this is how we're operating, this is what's different, and communicating that out to the guests. So I think that the big thing going forward is ensuring that we have consumer confidence that they are happy and safe and willing to travel with us, because without that, we're not going to have any kind of business left. Without the customers, that's the most important thing. We are, as a business, are a service business. We are here to serve the customers, and if we're not able to convince them that it's safe and put in those places and bits, we're not going to be able to have a business going forward. So I think that's what we're looking at going forward. You know, and equally, I think there are those groups that we know that don't want to travel. We're already speaking to them that are booked for November, December, you know, even into next year, that I think we're saying we're just not comfortable. I think we have to look at treating them as fairly as we possibly can do. And it's all well and good. You know, we can't just turn around and say, well, the group's, you know, tough, the travel's going, we're open, get going. You have to accept that actually we're going to have to transfer people into next year or possibly even the year after until their confidence there. Because I think one thing we know is people have long memories. And I think if we aren't seen as an industry as well as a company to be treating people fairly, then I think that's going to be sort of a big impact for us going forward. And that's one of the reasons I think why we're as booked as we are, because we've been very quick to act, and a lot of the business we've got for next year are those that have transferred over from this year. So yeah, so I think, you know, short term it's been horrendous. I think medium term it's improving, but certainly for the longer term, we're sort of fairly positive looking into 2021 and beyond.
Great, that's great. Thanks, Paul. That's a really good oversight. Thanks very much. Now, I'm hoping that Flo is on hand next. Flo Wallace is Head of Travel Trade for Visit Wiltshire and the Great West Way, and she's going to give us a little perspective from a destination. Are you there, Flo?
Yes, I'm here. Thanks, Val. I just wanted to give you a bit of a summary from a destination perspective. Visit Wiltshire has approximately 500 or so partners from all different sectors. But we also look after the Great West Way project, the Discover England Fund project. So from a broader perspective as well as a region, from London to Bristol, we've been in touch with about 260 ambassador supplier organisations and destinations along that route. But more recently, I've been talking to some of our Wiltshire businesses and suppliers who I've got just some general highlighted information I thought I'd go through. So people like Salisbury Cathedral, Longleat, Bowood, Stonehenge, MacArthur Glen Designer Outlet have all given us a bit of an insight into what they're doing in terms of reopening and COVID for their destinations. And I've just got a couple of bullets to summarise those. All are operating with limited capacity. So they're capping numbers to their sites, which obviously gives them a reduced income and based on what they can safely manage. But these caps are constantly being reviewed. So bear that in mind if you're booking for them. They are looking at increasing those based in line with government guidelines. All have got the We're Good to Go accreditation, so that's going down well. Most are managing group visits in the same way that they manage FIT visitors. So if you're a group organiser booking, just bear that in mind. They may well split you up when you get there. It's all to do with how they're managing people through the systems. Bowood House and Longleat House are not yet open to the public, but their sites are. And again, so they're offering a limited product offer in some cases. And I know some of the group experiences or guided tours that they'd normally offer for groups are not actually taking place either. And again, just keep looking at websites and keep in touch with businesses to determine what they are offering and what they're not offering for groups. They're encouraging everybody to pre-book, even consumers. So, you know, everyone needs to make sure they know they can get in. They're minimising touch points, keeping everything clean. Their marketing focus is primarily domestic for this year. That's been the biggest push. We just heard from Joss about the problems with international visitors. So there is a key domestic focus that these businesses are looking at for this year. And their dwell times on site are going to be shorter as well. People are coming in, doing what they need to do and going again. I know people like Longleat and Bowood have been very loyal to their members, their annual pass holders at Longleat and their members at Bowood. They were opening specifically for them initially. So those membership schemes are being looked after. Many attractions have had a lot of their group bookings cancelled for this year. They're reporting about 50% of their group bookings cancelling for 2020. Some are rebooking into 2021 and some are just cancelling. So they're struggling with that. And I think the thing to stress is a reassurance message. I think the public, that everybody needs to know that everything's as safe as it can be. So reassuring people, I think, is going to be key going forward. I did also just want to cover off, Visit Wiltshire has been working closely with Visit Britain and Visit England during the pandemic, and we have been gathering and feeding back information from our Wiltshire businesses in order to assist the government in their approach to tourism, and suggesting ways that we can support them. So I've got some stats here, but just this was done prior to the easing of lockdown on the 4th of July and the reopening of some businesses. So I just want to go through these. Some of the people taking part in this survey were big attractions such as Stonehenge National Trust, but also smaller B&Bs, cookery schools, ground operators, guides, activity providers, hotels, retail outlets, smaller attractions, luxury hotels, self-catering, etc. So the real range of product here that we've got some data from. And just to summarise some of this, the results coming in was saying that rural campsites and glamping were doing really well for July and August bookings. There was very little capacity remaining in some cases, and self-catering cottages and other accommodation in rural locations with a clear ability to allow distancing were reporting good levels of business. They're much more upbeat about August prospects than they were a few weeks ago. Hotels and self-catering apartments in larger urban areas are very concerned about bookings, reflecting the national sentiment that indicates that rural areas are likely to perform better initially in the recovery. Some of the Wiltshire tourism business opening at the beginning of July, those that responded to the survey said that only 40% of them can open on a profitable basis. Given that we're now in the main summer season, this is a really big concern. So we're looking at long-term sustainability of many Wiltshire tourism businesses. And unsurprisingly, many businesses still continue to stress the need for government to publish details of a longer-term support package for the sector. And we're continuing to stress this to DCMS as well, as is the work of people like the UK Inbound. Despite the reported pent-up demand of visitors now being able to book, 75% of businesses are reporting below average forward bookings compared with last year. So we're just struggling a bit there. There's a wide range of reasons for businesses not being able to reopen profitably. These include significantly reduced capacity. Many are operating at only 20 to 40% of their capacity. There's a lack of forward bookings. There's a cost of adaptation. There's no business tourism, no international visitors, limited in groups. So at the beginning of July, there was no guiding groups happening really, but that's probably coming back now. Nearby attractions not open, insufficient domestic marketing campaign to stimulate demand. But on the plus side, most businesses are reporting that there's enough government guidelines and support, enough government guidance coming through. So the guidance is there, and in fact, a lot of businesses are a little bit confused by the guidance, but where possible, we're helping support that. I just thought you might want to know some positive recovery news on traffic to the Visit Wiltshire website. So visitwiltshire.co.uk is a really good resource for people. We were down in terms of traffic to the website from April, 74% down in April, down in May, down in June, but July traffic is now about 14% down, so that's getting better. And in some sections of the website, we've completely recovered. And on what is struggling are the what's on pages. So the event pages are struggling. People are not going to any events. They're not looking at that information. And just in terms of the way forward, what I do want to say is special interest groups and associations, we're really encouraging them to book through tour operators where possible. This adds a greater protection for them and convenience for organising their visits. We work closely with the Great West Way official tour operator scheme. We've got about 76 official tour operators, and you can purchase a Great West Way itinerary through that. They go out to about 10 different countries. It's being marketed worldwide, and it allows people to use our brand and to use the toolkits that we have available. If there are any operators that want to get, or coach operators that want to get involved in that, or tour operators. So we're keen to work with the trade. We're keen to encourage GTOs to continue to work with us as well, and we're hoping to continue to support businesses where we can as well.
That's great, Flo. Thank you very much, Flo. Brilliant. Okay, that's a great overview of what's happening there. So now we've got to look into the coach industry. We've got Colin Duncan, who's joining us, and he's recently done a trial group trip to see what happens on a coach. So Colin, are you there? Colin? Oh, doesn't seem to be there. Colin? I know he was having trouble logging in, but I do think he's logged in now.
As far as Dunwood Travel are concerned, yes, Val is correct. We operated a tour on the 8th of July for 11 people that we then took down to the Turak Hotel in Torquay. We managed to get this covered by the BBC and quite a lot of other media outlets because we wanted to hide nothing. I mean, we have been preparing at Dunwood since 2 days after lockdown on how we can get our coaches back out on the road and how we can start breeding some kind of confidence into the market. The tour went very well. I haven't got obviously the time to go through everything that went on the tour, but all the clients that came back felt very, very safe. We had Ken Reader also on the coach at the time, and he's done a report on the tour and how things work with the COVID safety precautions at the Turak Hotel as well as on the coach. Since then, we've had another 2 tours that have taken place, which have been in Scarborough, which we had 24 people on the coach, and then a mystery tour for another 24 people on the coach. I'm really pleased to say that this week we had 3 coaches out, 1 to Weymouth, 1 to Eastbourne, and 1 to Torquay again. So it's planned at the moment that we will probably, subject to any issues that that may come up, and hopefully none at all, that we're looking to operate around 30 tours, including day visits in the August period. So the point I would like to just really make is that from Dunwood's point of view, we believe that we've kept in solid communication with our group organisers from literally day one. Every single organiser has had access to my mobile or my co-director's mobile, and if they wanted to talk to us, they could do at any given time. And the other side of the coin is that we have kept in communication with all of our suppliers and our partners. So we've worked tirelessly with companies like Potters, tirelessly with Warner, the TLH, and other venues. We have a couple of coaches going to the West Midlands Safari Park in about 2 weeks' time, and that's for a pre-post dated VE Day celebration that we're putting on, and we have about 3 coaches on each day trip going there. So we've worked with the West Midlands Safari Park, we've worked out how we can do a bit of entertainment, be it outside, and we've worked out how we can feed up to about 100 people in their hospitality venues. So we're positive. Our phones at the moment are, and our bookings over this last week are about 85–90% up. We believe that the confidence is coming back to the market. The clubs and the groups are reopening. Many of the clubs that we work with are opening in August. I myself will be visiting a number of clubs, subject to the amount of people and so forth, to talk through our COVID safety measures on the coaches and how these tours, which we have videoed and documented, have operated so far to date. So it's really, I believe, about confidence building. I believe it's about trying to push the ball out of the park a little bit, and just really working very, very hard with our partners to gradually, steadily, but in a safe way, make sure that we can get tours going back and heading for that period of October, November, where we're looking to see a much bigger increase, and ultimately 2021. So that's, I don't want to take any more of your time, because I know that there's a lot of people that have spoken and probably kept their time limit as well. So I just really wanted to just give you an outlook on how I think that the whole industry, from Dunwood's point of view, is positive, and a lot more positive than what we think. We've just got to stay in there and really, really work and do our best to keep in communication with everybody.
That's great. Thanks, Colin. That's inspiring as well. So thank you very, very much. And I know you've got
welcome.
So drive safely to your next appointment.
Yeah. I just wanted to very quickly answer that question that came to me in regards to the air filter. So effectively, the air purifiers are and have been recommended. These are what we have fitted onto our coaches, have been recommended by the manufacturers and have been fitted in conjunction with the manufacturer. Now, basically, the question that was asked, how can they work if the driver's window and ceiling vents are open? Well, the answer to that is they're not. These air purifiers are on while the air conditioning is actually working, because effectively what they do is they take out airborne virus, they deal with infection, they deal with the purifying the actual air on the coach. Now, the other important factor, just quickly to point out to you, these are also being used for other viruses, other forms of infection. They deal with motion sickness. They actually improve the condition of motion sickness. And very importantly, they allow the driver to stay alert at all times, which a driver should be. But if a driver was starting to feel a bit sleepy, the air is purified to keep them alert at all times. So it's obviously about COVID, but it's also about groundbreaking technology that is giving our customers cleaner air, safer air. If there's infection on there, whether it be the winter flu, whether it be a cold or a virus, whether it's the COVID, that's what these air purifiers are there to do and deal with. So just thought I'd answer that for you.
That's great. Thank you very much, Colin. That's brilliant. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you, everybody. Thanks.
Thanks very much. Okay, now, does anybody have any quick questions before we move on to a bit more techie thing? Lynn, you've got your hand up.
Yes, well, in fact, that was part of the question that I asked via Maureen Willett. I suspect Dacia's and Dunwood Travel both know GTO Maureen Willett. She's a member of the New Meridian Association, and she's asked me if I will ask Dunwood Travel about the air filters, and she actually wanted to know, how do they know that the clean air will come out? What I'd like to know is this the new thing they're putting in coaches now? Is this a guideline that the government are giving them to put in coaches now, or have they always had them in the coaches? So that's one question that I wanted to ask. Well, it looks though Colin's gone. So,
yeah. So I don't know if there's anybody else. Is Ian Pearson from Harry Shaw? Do you know the answer to that, Ian? By any chance? You've got to turn the mute. That's it.
Sorry, I'm a virgin to Zoom, so I do apologise.
It's okay.
Very much. My name's Ian Pearson, manager at Harry Shaw Group Travel. We're a coach operator. Sorry, I can't really comment on the air purifiers that other companies have purchased. I understand what we've looked into them. I don't think there's any guarantee, Lynn, that it will kill COVID or any other virus. So there's no guarantee. And good luck to companies who have bought them and purchased them and try to give people confidence to travel, which is what we all want. But one, I think they are new on the market. But I don't think there's a guarantee of what they can do. You can certainly purify the air from what we've read, what we understand, but I don't think there's any guarantee that they kill a particular virus, whether that be COVID, etc. And that's all I know about it at the moment, really.
That's great, thanks. Now we are getting very short of time, so I'm going to hand over now to Alexis Pepis, who is going to tell us a little bit more about the latest innovation in tech and how this might just help a little bit in the future going forward. He's from Ticket, excuse me, and he's been working in the industry for some time. Take a drink of water. Cheers.
Thanks, Val. Hello, everyone. I'll keep it very quickly because I know we are overrunning. So yeah, this pandemic has accelerated the already emerging consumer trends and just natural trends that we were seeing in the industry anyway. If you look at ecotourism, online and remote content, even outside of this industry, you know, you have the Peloton, the at-home gym cycle tool. You've got people now sitting at home ordering their groceries online rather than heading to the nearest supermarket. And also you see a lot more venues now putting a lot more of their content online so people can actually have virtual tours. Historic Royal Palaces have been very good at that. And I think that's key in case there are future lockdowns, you still want to engage with that audience. So there's been a move towards that. Obviously, as we try to limit the number of touch points at venues, a lot of venues have removed the ability to be able to walk up and buy tickets. So now everything is online. They are digital tickets, and so you don't have to transfer the cash. You don't have to touch a paper ticket. You can just show your ticket on your phone that you've booked online and wander in with that minimal contact. And I think, as Peter mentioned, you know, there's going to be more experiential products. Tours will probably get smaller to be more experiential. I remember when I was working at lastminute.com many years ago when there was another recession. We did a survey back then, and you know, people still wanted to make the most of their leisure time, but they just budgeted for it, and because they budgeted for it, they wanted more value for money. So it wasn't so much about discounts and monetary savings; it was more about getting more bang for your buck. So having that more experience. So how is technology meeting this new world? Well, there's really numerous ways now. You know, the future of travel is definitely a completely different face to what you've probably experienced previously. You have apps that can guide you around a theme park and can queue on your behalf, so you don't have to wait in a long queue. You can just turn up at the ride when you need to and get on. In other countries such as China, they've been using what is called a super app, WeChat, to store health certificates and use that as their official ticketing platform. With the health certificate to prove that they don't have the coronavirus at that time. I don't think that will carry on over here, but that's just an example. Visit Scotland have been really good with their pandemic toolkit that they've been providing their venue partners, talking about various different channel managers and ticketing systems, and also the use of how you can use QR codes for content. Which one example was Pitlochry Dam. You can scan the QR code and download the content rather than picking up audio headphones, because now you don't want to touch earphones. You don't want to have that on your head, but someone else has perhaps had on their head. You've also got apps that have been around for a while, like Smartify, which is used quite a lot in like museums and galleries. The more sci-fi end of things, you've got the Beverly Hilton Hotel in California is now using robots to clean rooms and disinfect guest rooms with ultraviolet light. So you'll now see more robots at hotels. The European Commission held a hackathon in 2 weeks ago, and the winners of that hackathon created a safety travel app, so you can get up-to-date communications as there's more regional, smaller lockdowns, as rules and legislation changes. You need to keep the customer updated, so they've created this special travel app. And budget airlines have now created a seat blocking tech. So now, as well as reserving extra leg room on your flight, you can now reserve the seat next to you to ensure no one sits there, and so you have more space and you feel a bit more safer. So you can always trust an airline to try and monetize that somehow. but how does that look for group travel? Well, you know, more and more venues are now adopting smarter ticketing. As they are having to reduce capacity, they need to manage that capacity. So they need to know exactly how many people are in and out of their venue at any one time, breaking it down via time slots. And I think Flo mentioned on her quick brief update that, you know, some of her venues are treating groups the same as they would FITs. So expect more of that to happen. I would, as you know, so you might be expected to book your group tour online so that their system can adapt and know that, you know, 20 tickets have been taken out of the pot and are assigned to this group tour rather than on sale for the general public. So there's that to remember. You know, the smarter ticketing is also useful for improved communication, whether that's in-app or via email. So if you do have to suddenly have a lockdown, you need to inform your customers very quickly. So the ticketing is used for that. So you also need improved flexibility around cancellations and amendments. And of course, you need the data capture for track and trace. So more and more venues are now moving towards the more complex, smarter ticketing solutions and the smarter, complex channel managers. And some of these have group tour facilities. Tour CMS, TrekSoft, for instance, I believe can handle group booking. Some do not. The reason why is because technology likes to deal with logic, a set of zeros and a set of ones. Group booking is anything but logical. With all the different setups and variables, it's very complex to be able to solve this technology in a very efficient way. But while venues get used to this new setup, they get used to the venue managing the capacity at reduced allotments, and unfortunately, while the staff is also reduced, you know, I would expect more and more of these venues to push you towards using their ticketing system just for improved efficiencies. So that was my brief 5 minutes on technology. I hope that was useful for some people, or at least fun to listen to.
That was really useful, and I'm sorry the time is so short. It's amazing how
That's all right.
the quarter's gone so quickly. I can't believe it. So we've just got one more short presentation from Ashley, who is our new young intern at GTO magazine, and she's just finished a degree in media production at Bournemouth University and has just got her first. So well done, Ashley. Ashley, are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Fantastic.
Okay. So as Val said, that I've just graduated from Bournemouth University with a first, and I've recently just started working at Landor Travel Publications. So I'm currently working as the social media and marketing assistant, while the editor for Great Group Trips. So all sorts of stuff I'm doing at the moment. I'm just briefly talking about the younger market, millennial market with group travel. So of course I can't really speak for an entire generation, but I will try my best. So speaking as a millennial myself, I think we're definitely one of the key markets to keep groups to market to right now. Like a lot of people, graduates like myself, people who have just started their career and might be working from home for the foreseeable future, they might be the people who are more willing to have more free time to, say, have a 2-week quarantine after they've been away because they're home working, because maybe they haven't found a job after university or anything. So they might be more willing to take their groups to go to Spain or something and then come back, work from home for the next 2 weeks. With that being said, one of the main issues with marketing to a younger generation could be budgets and price. With less capacity on transports and accommodation and fewer tourists going into locations, the attractions, destinations and transportation might increase their prices, which might, with a very price conscious millennial market, they might be put off with the higher prices. So you've got some benefits with marketing to the millennials, but also they might be put off with people increasing their prices. Like with coaches, you can only have half the capacity, so you might be expected the prices to rise on that, which might put off a younger generation. And that's all I've really got to say. So that was nice and short, that one.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Ashley. That's fantastic. So now we've got a little bit of general question time now. If anybody does have any questions they'd like to raise with any of the panelists, I know that Colin and Joss have both had to leave now. So for any of the others that want to kind of bottom out anything particular with Lynn or Lucy, Paul, Flo, Alexis, or indeed Ashley, please do fire away and let us know. And of course, Peter, we're all here to answer any questions you have. If there's anything that you sort of piqued your interest or you're not sure about. I know there's been one comment about city centres having city destinations having open spaces, and large attractions have plenty of space, but it's how to get there if you're not using public transport. That was from Catherine Skeggs and Rachel McGuinn. If you want to add any more to that, please do feel free. Any more comments on that, Catherine? Maybe?
Well, I was replying to Rachel, actually.
Yes.
Because we're city adventurers, and so we're used to going into city centres, but we're used to going by public transport, and people don't want to go, especially on the underground at the moment.
No. So
it's the feeling of being closed in. So yeah, once you get there, it's an open space like Hyde Park would be fantastic.
Yeah, but
it's getting there that's the problem.
Yeah, and then parking, if you all travel by car, parking.
Yeah.
It's really expensive. Yeah, I can understand that.
Oh.
Yes.
Can I say something on that?
You may.
Also, I don't know if Liz Hill's still here, but if she is, I think it'd be nice if Liz said something. What I'm thinking in terms of a number of the comments so far from both Lynn at the beginning and Alex and what Ashley said, and now what we've just discussed with Catherine, it's about managing groups in different situations. Now, if you're on a coach and you're on a tour, I mean, it's pretty obvious that there's a courier guide tour leader who's going to marshal people and help them when they arrive at a destination, where to go to the loo, wash their hands, split into two groups, etc. But if you don't come on a coach and you just form up on a visit to a city, particularly a city, what is needed is really good concierge work of the person leading it, and it's a different challenge when there's no vehicle. Catherine, I'm sure you'd say that if you met a group at Victoria Station and took them on a walking tour and some visits or something, you'd be very alert to how they should behave and safe and secure. But that service is not really available at the moment. Like, you can get a blue badge guide, but that's a tour of, like, we're going around the Abbey or something. What I think might be a product for you and for Liz is a curated visit to one of those scary urban areas that nobody wants to go to now, because someone needs to hold your hand. Even I'm not very keen to go to London at the moment. So, Liz, are you here?
Hello.
You're the curator par excellence. Concierge is your name of your business. I mean, what can you do to help people get round destinations that are slightly more scary?
Yeah, well, thank you. So our first trip is going to take place week today. We'll be in Wales this week today. So I've had to reduce down, and I've now got a big waiting list. So I've got 25 on the coach, and so I've sent out my first newsletter since we've all been back getting into normalish life, and it's been really, really positive. So much so I've got a little bit of homework to do. That's about over 30 bookings. So I've got a bit of work to do. But yeah, so basically what we're doing for Wales, I've given them what we need to do. I've got a temperature check, a mask, hand sanitizer. I've got to purchase one of those visors to wear as well. I phoned up the local tourist information, but of course I don't think they're open at the moment, or they're not answering the phone. So eventually I got through to the cathedral, and because people want to know about toilets, that's very important, as I think Lucy said. So toilets are open in the market, and the market day, the cathedral, and Bishop's Palace, no, by the coach station as well. So again, it's just doing a little bit of pre-research into the visit, because it's all unknown. You know, usually you know that different places will be open, but that's not necessarily the case. So yeah, that's sort of what I've been doing for the group, and I suppose because they trust me, that we're going to have a nice day out, albeit a little bit different to usual.
Hello, Val, could I ask Paul a question, please? And again, this is from a GTO, Maureen Willett, and she wanted to know about the entertainment that you have in the hotels normally. If live music is still not allowed by the time they go, what evening entertainment do you think you'll be having instead?
Well, at the moment, we are anticipating live entertainment being back from the 1st of August. So unless she's going the next couple of days, she should be in luck. We have been running without live entertainment since we opened on the 4th of July. We've still been putting on bingo and a quiz, because we can do that, anyway, with the group. The general manager is doing that. But we have been speaking and working with our existing entertainers, the ones that would normally come in, and it's been a mixture of getting them in back in June when the hotels were still closed to record a live show that we can broadcast in the evening, or they are, so quite a few of them are literally doing a Facebook Live or a Zoom broadcast or whatever it is from their kitchens at home, and we are broadcasting that live into the entertainment room. So we've still got effectively live entertainment without actually having the person in the room with them, and then setting up, text numbers for texting. If they still want to request or send them a cheeky message or whatever, they can still do all of that sort of thing. So you still get a bit of interaction with it as well. But hopefully from the 1st of August, all subject to the government's trials that they haven't seemed to tell anybody about, going okay, we're anticipating having live entertainment back in our normal format.
Brilliant. And the second question she wants to know was about meal times. Obviously you're having reduced numbers. Are you actually doing a sitting system?
Yeah. So we're having reduced numbers, and the reduced numbers correspond to how many we can get into each restaurant on a socially distanced basis. So if the restaurant will only accommodate 90 people at one go, that's all we'll fill up to. And for those where we have got hotels that have got additional bookings through late rooms or booking.com or whatever it is, they're only having breakfast rather than evening meals, and that's being done in a separate room for them. So it's all been separated out. So it's all should be pretty much as normal, just a bit more spaced out.
Right, so it will be just their group, it won't be the public as well?
No.
Right, okay, thank you very much.
I think we've got Ian Pearson. You'd like to say something, I think, from a tour operator perspective, is that right? Ian, would you like to say something?
Yeah, sorry again, I'm just trying to unmute myself. It's lovely to hear from a couple of operators who have started to travel, and good luck to them. But at Harry Shaw Travel, we took the decision, the first client I spoke to was in early March, who asked if she could cancel a holiday, postpone a holiday that was due to go in May. At the time, it kind of took my breath away, really. I was astounded that somebody at that time were looking that far in advance to move a holiday. We did that. We contacted the hotel. We've changed it to next year. There was a slight increase from the hotel, which we've stomached. And the organiser, who I believe wrote to you, Val, is very, very pleased. Now, little did I think at the time that at the beginning of March that we could probably see the whole year of group travel being potentially written off. And when I say written off, every group organiser who I've spoke to, I've asked the question, do they wish to travel? Do they feel confident to travel? And to date, every group organiser I've spoke to have said that they don't want to have the responsibility, or they feel that their members are of a certain age. The general demographic of a coach party is 70 plus in age, and they just don't have the confidence to travel. And we've taken the decision, difficult as it may be, and as demoralising as it may be, to postpone every group tour until the end of September. That will be extended probably into October, and possibly also November, December. The likes of the Thirst for Christmas Spectacular now being sadly cancelled is a big seller for Harry Shaw and many other companies. And those tours will be postponed to next year. And credit to the companies who want to travel and are travelling. But we feel, and I feel in every conversation I've had with every GTO, and I talk to them on a regular basis, and we give them the choice. If you want to operate, we will, subject to numbers. But again, you have coaches which have got 50, 53 people on. How do you do that? But every organiser has turned around to a T and said, if you offer us the opportunity to cancel our holiday and postpone it to next year, we will take that. And that's just the view of ourselves as Harry Shaw Travel. Other companies do their own things. As I said, good luck to them. Thankfully, we're in a position where our fleet of coaches and our business isn't relying just purely on our tour operation, which makes it different. But it's just a very, very hard time for us all. I understand that. A year we've never had before. And obviously, I think the future of group travel, we find, is in the confidence of the group organiser and their members. And at the moment, as much as the news is improving, you know, we're still hearing today that the government are worried about a second spike in a couple of weeks' time. It's a lack of confidence that we're finding, and it's a lack of confidence which we're trying to adhere to and address. We don't know if we're doing the right thing. Nobody wants to cancel and postpone a holiday, but we just feel morally and responsibly that we're taking the right decision for our group organisers. And I just would like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to say that, because yes, it's great people are operating and good luck to them. We all want our coaches running. You know, that's what we're here for. We've been doing it for 40 plus years, but there's a time when we have to listen to our customers, and we feel that by doing so, everyone to a T, I've postponed, whether that's by coach or by air, to 2021. That makes 2021 look pretty good at the moment. Yeah. You know, and hopefully some of these groups who have had money and haven't spent it this year may spend a bit more next year. But I think group travel and the future of group travel is down to confidence of GTOs and their members. Yeah. And that's how we feel.
Ian, this GTO is still going, and have you seen by my survey, there's still lots of people that want to go. And yeah. I sold out of my Isle of Wight tour, our little island in the sun in the UK, yeah. in under a week.
Yeah.
Jeff, I did try and contact you, but there's nobody there in your office, and I didn't get any replies to my email. Ooh. So I was going to go through you, but I've had to go through my normal tour operator now, and it's all been sealed. I've seen the hotel. I went on Saturday, saw the hotel in the rain. It was still beautiful in the rain, and I am really happy with what they're doing with the COVID. It's a lovely hotel, very clean. Okay, it's on a 1 in 10 hill, but there you go, it's like that. And I am really happy with the hotel and with what they're doing, and they can't wait to come to us. Unfortunately, I was told that a lot of hotels on the island, just the island, are not going to be opening this year, and that is because, as you indicated a little while ago, they can't afford to, because they're having to pay staff, they're having to pay all the running costs, but they don't know if they're going to get the people. And the Isle of Wight is quite a niche place, and they depend on tourism, but although it's coming back slowly, I don't think it's going to come back to full capacity this year. But we are there to help them.
Okay, thanks, Lynn. Yeah. Now, before we all go, I've got Rosemary Barnes, who's just wanting to say something. Rosemary Barnes is a Blue Badge guide in York and also a GTO. Rosemary, you've got 2 minutes. Sorry.
Thank you. I just wanted to, well, thank you, Val, for inviting me to speak on here. I wanted to tell you a bit about how Blue Badge guides have been adapting to the current situation. So like everybody else, we've been very hard hit. I've had no work since March, and I think that probably applies to all of us, but we are adapting, and we've heard about the good to go. Here's accreditation, good to go. Hope you can all see that. So we're ready to get back into the market. We've taken on board what everybody's been saying about smaller groups, and I think that this is the way that things are going to be going forward, that there will be smaller groups, but we have, in order to get the good to go accreditation, we have to do a risk assessment for each walk that we undertake. So this would mean things like checking where the toilets are, checking that the toilets are open, making sure that everybody participating in a walk has got a mask, so we will provide extra masks if they haven't, and we will be wearing the visors so that people can hear us. But the big problem, of course, at the moment is social distancing, because if people still have to be 1.5 metres from someone else, that might create a problem in smaller places such as York, the Shambles, a very narrow street. So we're hoping that that is going to be reduced. But in the meantime, we're ready to work on coaches. It's very encouraging to hear that coach trips are going out already. So we are good to go. We're looking at ways of communicating using the new technology so that clients just use their own phone. There's no actually touching anything that anybody else touches. You just use your. We're investigating that. We're doing virtual tours at the moment to give people an introduction to places. These they were meant to be a stopgap, but they are probably going to continue once we get out there, because as Lynn was saying, there are some, perhaps the older clients won't have the confidence to return virtual tours. They won't feel that they've missed out. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Rosemary. I think we've probably all coming to an end now, unless anybody else has something burning that they'd wish to say. I know time is tight for everybody, and I'm really, really grateful for everybody who's signed up today and taken part in the discussion. Thank you. Big thank you to all our panelists for your contributions. They've been really, really good and well received. And I think it's been a stimulating discussion to see what's happening in all parts of the industry. And it is very, very difficult and challenging times, as Ian says, but I think there's a degree of positivism out there, and as long as we can adapt and try to be flexible and try to encourage and innovate where possible, then hopefully there will be a future for group travel. I think we all certainly think so, and you know, again, thank you very much everybody for taking part. Peter, I don't know if you want to say anything else before we go.
Val, it's Daryl here. Just before we go, Peter mentioned earlier on the Celebrate Group Travel Day.
Yes.
If anyone is interested in finding out a bit more, you can email me. I've put my email in the chat there. Most of you will have my details anyway, or Sarah Jeffrey, who's on the line as well. So we're really looking forward to it, and we want to make it a day that does really celebrate group travel, and we need you guys to be involved in some way if you can. So get in touch if you're interested in being involved. Thanks a lot for joining today, and hopefully speak to you soon.
Thanks, Daryl. Okay. Peter, do you want to say anything else?
No, I don't think so. I'd just like to thank you, Val.
No problem.
You look the part for this difficult job of managing the unruly speakers, including.
Well, there's just so much for everybody to say. I feel really mean that I've cut everybody short. But
and I think we've got a lot of content, and there's more to do as well. And I reckon this is quite a good thing to do for the trade, to talk through the business challenges. And so I reckon we might do this again in a month or so, when things have become either clearer or difficult or whatever. But I mean, this is mutual support, isn't it? And it's confidence building internally to the industry. So I reckon it's a handy thing to do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And just one last thing. I know Dawn has a question of Lynn and Paul, but I'll ask her to email you, and then you can do that way, if that's okay with both Lynn and Paul. Yeah, that's great. Well, if everybody is okay, thank you again for joining in, and see you again soon in another meeting.